Welcome back. Another episode of Down Under the Crossbar podcast on a Sunday morning, a beautiful sunshiny day because Arsenal top of the table after a 2-0 win over West Ham overnight and Liverpool losing to Chelsea. Steve Peios, mate, how are you? We were messaging all last night until I fell asleep just before kickoff in the Chelsea game. How are you doing?
Great to see you, BB, mate. Fabulous day, fabulous morning to be waking up as a Gooner today. We know that Van Morrison once sang it's a wonderful day for a moon dance, mate. Today it's a wonderful morning to be a Gooner. It's lovely, mate. It's good, mate. You don't often have situations like this for us over the past. Let's be serious, mate. The last 5-10 years where we've had situations where there were 6 points to be made up over the last couple of weeks, and we've made them up. And we've made them up in bogey fixtures. Newcastle away, no points last year. West Ham at home, no points last year. They might sound like little things, but the way in which we came back last week was magnificent. The way in which we won last night, plenty of critics I'm seeing online, and I'm having absolutely none of them. I think it's fabulous that we won so comfortably. So wonderful result, mate. But before we get started, I've got a question for you, mate. Are you an Aussie now, or are you still an All Black? Surely you're still a firm All Black in the Bledisloe camp, mate.
I'm still a firm All Black. Look, it's one of those weird things. It's one of those strange things because during the week, right, like with my work, I cover a lot of rugby. So, and obviously that's covering the Wallabies, the Waratahs. I do a lot of Shoot Shield as well.
Yeah.
So getting to know people, getting to know the stories, getting to know, you sort of get a soft spot for it, for the guys and for the things. And in the lead up, I've often found myself going, oh, I hope the Wallabies can do something and make it close, or sometimes I think, look, I don't know if Scott Robertson's the coach to take the All Blacks to a World Cup. If we lost this game, maybe that puts a bit of pressure. Maybe they make a change. Maybe it's not the worst thing. But then kickoff comes, and I'm like, if those blokes go the All Blacks, it's within you. It's within you. So
it is. It is. It's like
that probably
like
sounds like I'm trying to have It probably sounds like I'm trying to have a foot in both camps, but at the end of the day, always All Blacks. You can't get that out of you. And so, last night went out to the pub, watched the All Blacks play the Wallabies in Perth. And again, as soon as kick off, I'm like, get them!
Get in. Beautiful. I'm glad we clarified that, mate. So tell us, mate, first of all, tell us how you're feeling, mate, after what was a great night. I thought fabulous performance, mate. I'm not having any of the criticisms last night. 2-0, 0 shots on target from West Ham. XG for West Ham was like 0.09. Nothing, absolutely nothing. Total shutout, defensive masterclass. I love it. I'm all for it, mate. I don't care how we win this year. I don't care if it's worse than Mourinho, back in 2005. And you can't say worse than anybody. I mean, I think they conceded 12 or 15 that year. I don't care if we do it with less than that. It's fabulous to see us winning, mate. Give us your take as we start off today's show.
I'm not having any criticism at all, none whatsoever, like you say. Did it in a canter, did it easily. Whether West Ham defended really resolutely, very organised, so it was not easy to break that down. And I think I'm sort of weigh this too heavily in the lead up, but it's only reading sort of a few things after the game. Those losses, there was 2 losses on the trot at home to West Ham over the past couple of seasons. I think that played more into this game than I sort of realised. Thierry Henry messaging Saka in the lead up to the game saying, look, we've lost this game and stay focused. Declan Rice, obviously, former West Ham player. I just think mentally that there was a lot more pressure or a lot more stuff going on than I sort of had given it credit for in the lead up. And to honestly do it that easily, apart from there was like a first-minute corner that West Ham had that looked pretty dangerous. They didn't attack. They didn't fire a shot. I think it was 3 shots on target to 20-something. And just a very comfortable, very resolute defensive performance from Arsenal. So many positives to take out of it. Again, the starting side that I think we touched on last week. That's the centre 3. Eze, Odegaard, and Rice. Obviously, Odegaard went off injured, but not taking any criticisms about it being boring, about anything like this, because those are the games. You mentioned it last week. This is the stretch last year where how many points did we drop from playing, your West Ham, your Palace, and your Fulham? we drop points. So these are the games that you just bank, do it easy. Okay, 2 injuries coming out of it, Erdegaard and Rice. Bit of an issue there, but we've got 2 weeks off now. So, yeah, again, no, not having any criticism. How about you? Top of the table, 1 point clear. Liverpool go down 3 games they've lost in a row. I just think back to the last time we went into an international break. It was off the
Oh,
Soboslai free kick in the
oh,
loss.
bang on.
You're
Bang
sitting
on.
there for 2 weeks just stewing over it, and it couldn't be different sort of a month on. But yeah, what are your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, mate. Wonderful analysis. Wonderful analysis. I thought the way that we just controlled the game. He talked about that sort of control against Man City a few weeks ago, and I think we saw that in terms of the way that we had possession and sort of pass them around the park. But a little bit less of that. You've got to take each game on its merits, I suppose. So when you won up against West Ham, you look for the second. You just be solid. I think we dealt with the game situation perfectly. I thought he dealt with that well at Newcastle last week. Went behind, made the changes to go and chase the game. Kept going to the end to win the game. So maybe he's learned a few things now from perhaps Liverpool, from perhaps City. Couple of big takeaways. You were bang on about the picking that side with Eze, with Erdegaard, with Rice as a single pivot, and then having Trossard, Gyökeres, Saka. This is the thing, BB. You and I are ready for that. We are ready for it as fans. I don't think the team is ready for it tactically. So what I'm going to explain there is that I feel like, to be truthful, once Zubamendi came on last night, he was magic last night. We didn't look, and again, I don't know if it's an indictment yet, and I think we need to give some time to Erdegaard to get back. But once he came off, we were way more solid. Their 3 shots on goal, they only had, I think, was it 3 shots on goal for the whole match, none on target. Yeah. We had, like you said, 20 or 22 and 5 on target, whatever the case was. They all came after the 25 minutes when Erdegaard went off. Like they were shut out after that. Zubi came in, single pivot, allowed Declan to start moving around the pitch. And this is where I feel like everybody has said he needs that person to just release the handbrake, as everyone's been saying for Declan. He ended up all around the pitch, 100 touches in every single corner of the pitch, running the most miles, man of the match again. And he's almost now starting to perform like that unsung midfielder. I was critical of him a few weeks ago, absolutely very critical of him, but he was very good against Newcastle. He was very good against West Ham last night. So in that situation, you're looking at it and you're going, right, okay, all of a sudden now he's starting to have that freedom to go and do what he needs to do. I thought that perhaps we lost a little bit of creativity when Erdegaard come off, just like what we saw against Olympiacos, where he's just finding balls and, finding the runs of the strikers. Maybe it would have been a little bit better for Gyökeres if he was still on. But what we did have again was just that pure solidity that once Zubi came on, West Ham had nothing. Like you said, mate, spot on. That cross came in, and because that wind was blowing, Rayo misjudged that. No one said a word about it. Everyone kept saying Ray didn't touch the ball and didn't have to do anything, mate. He misjudged the cross badly to start the game. Fulkrug had an open header, and I think it could have been Collins maybe from West Ham had a header towards the end off a corner, but that was the extent of anything that West Ham had. So there's some of my key takeaways of it, is that Erdegaard coming off almost on a day like today against that type of team was better for us. What I would say is that in our next home game against the Palace, you're home again. I'd almost go for it again then and go, right, if Erdegaard's fit, you play Eze, you play Rice or Zubamendi, or he might even just learn from this and go, I'm going to put Eze on the left, Erdegaard, keep Zubamendi in. I thought Trossard was decent last night without being anything special. Yeah. But what that might do against a team like a Palace, who are showing this year that they can come out and actually go for it, that you'll actually be able to, work a lineup like that. You nailed that. Nuno's just come in and gone. You even saw in his motivational speeches in the training paddock this week. I want everyone to get back to each other, to get to know each other, to be close. He was treating it almost like a corporate workplace. It was hilarious. Like, I know you guys don't want to be here, but we've got to do our TPS reports this week and get everything done, right? You know what I mean? So it's just so it was almost like, okay, that's how he's treating this. Let's get back together. Let's enjoy our football. Well, they just come out very compact. And I felt like once Zubi came on, he disrupted. You could clearly see that front 3. I think it's Somerville, Fernandez, and Paquetá. And then you had Fulkrug up front. You could clearly see that sort of, 3-in-1 up top in the first 25. Once Zubi came up and was just literally disrupting all of that was gone. Yeah. Team just went then, all right, let's go back and retreat. We've got through 30, 35 minutes. Let's see how we go to half time. And once we scored, I think it was safe enough. So there's some of my key takeaways, mate. Look, fabulous weekend, great result. I'm not having any of the negativity. Really happy with what's happening. Boring Arsenal, but superb. 1-0 to the Arsenal. Bring it on. Like I love it. All those jibes. There were 3 goals in 10 games to start the season. 1 from open play. Fabulous.
Who's your man of the match? We'll put you on the spot.
For me, it was Calafiori last night. Calafiori. I thought he was
good,
absolutely
wasn't he?
magnificent. Calafiori and Timber, your boy, Jury and Timber was magnificent. The two backs were brilliant. I think you could argue, moving forward that the 2 centre backs, but they just didn't have enough to do. Like they just had full cook in the pocket last night. There was nothing to be done. What I found with Calafiori last night is it seemed like some real training ground moves had started to come in with the back 3. You could start to see Calafiori really turn up in that central pivot, allowing Zubi to sort of come up and mop around in a semicircle around him, then allow Rice to basically go everywhere. There were points where because my son was watching too, so we were watching it together. So I was trying to, because he's going okay with football, so I'm just trying to teach him a bit of the tactical stuff. And I'm looking at how Calafiori is now. He's even on the right-hand side now. He's sort of linking up now on the right with Timber. And then you can see the way that they're popping back into a back 3 to make sure they're safe. And then Calafiori's just roaming around. He's almost playing what they wanted out of that Zinchenko role, but he can defend Calafiori when he's on. So I think that's been, magnificent. So, yeah, he was my man of the match, mate. What about you? What's your thoughts?
I had Zubimendi after he came on.
Great choice, yeah.
Sent the ball through to Saka for the first goal that Rice finished. Sent the ball over the top to Timber, who got taken down for the penalty, and like you said, just came on. And that's not an indictment or anything against Odegaard or Rice, because Rice moved up the field when Zubi came on. But I thought he was fantastic. Plenty of touches on the ball. Rice was man of the match officially?
I think so.
I just have. So there's one point I've wanted to make, right? And I actually have the play set up here. It's 12 minutes in, and which is what we were sort of talking about last week. In that, if Odegaard can play with whether it's Rice or Zubimendi as a holding, as like a conductor, and with Eze just in that pocket behind, I think Odegaard would enjoy a little bit more of that freedom to operate where he sees space and where he can attack. So if anyone watching 12 minutes in, or 12 and a bit minutes in, the ball's on the right, just right up near West Ham's box. Obviously, Arsenal's trying to get the ball to Saka as much as possible, right? So we're up on the right. West Ham have 3 defenders there. Like, not much is doing. There's no momentum. There's no quick play, right? So West Ham's just sort of solid there, solid defensive setup. Odegaard was sort of playing inside Saka quite high. He comes back, gets the ball, nothing doing. And I'm just watching it now. He's on the edge of the box, having a look around. Saka's moving, nothing there. He comes back to Timber, who comes back to Saliba almost to halfway. Those 3 West Ham defenders that were so disciplined and in line, they get dragged up, they get dragged across. Saka drifts actually inside the box. All of a sudden, Saliba, bang, back to Odegaard, who's all of a sudden got space to drive into the box. He runs onto the edge of the box, ball to Saka, crosses, and Eze somehow skies a volley. But it happens so fast, and it was just the ability of Martin Odegaard and smart play from Saliba to give the ball back to him. But just to be able to go, all right, it's a defensive setup from West Ham. They're good here. Let's come back out, draw them out, and then we go fast. And that's what I really like from Odegaard in that position, a bit of freedom. And I've got another example which I'll talk about a bit later, but I think Martin Odegaard is a little bit more comfortable than Declan Rice in playing back to goal. He can. That's just my feel. I think he's a little more comfortable in his vision. I don't know whether his vision's better, but he can.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
He can
a bit more nimble on his feet to sort of go one way, go the other if he needs to, and then you sense the man behind him.
Yeah. There were a couple of moments. I thought Rice had a fantastic game when he moved. I thought he was great in that holding spot before Martin's injury. But when he went up, I thought he was making good runs and stuff. But there were a couple of moments where I was sort of thinking, look, if that was Odegaard or if it was Eze, either of those guys, Odegaard maybe would have got a pass off, or Eze would have held the ball up and turned and been able to do something with it. Whereas Declan Rice, it's not his natural game. I don't think he prefers to get up and look ahead and play that way.
Yeah.
Um,
And
that's
that's why
just
when you're saying that Zubi came on and allowed him to do a little bit more of that, and then it's almost like he had to take that tactical responsibility when Erdegaard comes off, because I still think Eze is still getting used to playing in a team, BB, which has more of the ball. Now, Palace are getting better with that, obviously, now as they're going. Glasner's turned them into a wonderful outfit, nearly 20 games unbeaten, but he still wouldn't have been in a side. I mean, Palace, we flogged Palace 5-1 back in December away from home. I mean, that was still a team that was learning then. So if you're an Eze, I find Eze's in a position now where he's coming to this team and he's like, oh, how good's this? And we've seen glimpses, and I think his ceiling will be massive because he's not used to having the ball. So I see what you're saying there, that Declan's gone right. When he has the opportunity to take that responsibility, he takes it, as opposed to where he has to be that single pivot, know that, all right, now I've got to watch what's behind me and play the ball. It becomes a very different story.
Yeah, and that's what, and he can only do that because he's got Zubamendi there, right? Like, if it was, even if it was Marino, I don't think Declan Rice can play that can be comfortable in taking that responsibility on, because I still think he'd have a little bit more responsibility playing a little bit deeper. But when you've got, I'm not going to say a like for like change, but when you've got someone as good as Zubamendi coming in to play that role, then Rice can just go ahead. And I think maybe that goes back to what we've spoken about a couple of times, is that over the first sort of month of the season, I don't know, Declan Rice is neither here nor there. He's doing one or the other, or he's caught in two minds about what his job is. Last night, it was very obvious that was the job. All right, Erdegaard goes off injured. Now that's the job.
Yep.
And it was 100% commitment to that.
How do you think that plays?
Sorry, just quickly, Calafiori plays into that as well, because he comes into the middle as well, and it's even more of a buffer for Declan to go forward, I think. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's perfect. I was going to ask you, how do you think that plays into his midfield selections as we move into Fulham? Now, it's 2 weeks away. I mean, there's a long way to go with international break and making sure that we don't end up with injuries and whatever else happens. But provide everyone's fit, what does he do in those away games now? Because, like I said, I feel like we're ready to see that release of the handbrake. I'm not sure the team is, because probably what's going on tactically at the training ground. And again, I mean, I must say, you see when Marino comes on, he's solid. Like, Marino is just solid. He's just tough. He's just so Edu-like. Like when we had back in the day, your Edus, your Gilbertos, and then your Vieiras, right? There's similarities between the three, of Declan as Patrick, of Marino as Edu, and then Gilberto, a little bit more of your Zubimendi, right? Just the mopper. So I'm seeing a lot of similarities there, in the way that's set up. And what that says to me is, depends what happens with Erdegaard's fitness, but do you go to a Fulham away, fresh off a break, play that midfield three again that we've seen at Liverpool, we've seen away from home at, the Newcastles of the world, where we're just really trying to just be solid. Like, I mean, I wouldn't be against it almost coming back off a break. I'd like to see, maybe, provided we win, and then we've got Atletico. So the next two games are tough, I feel like. Fulham away, Atletico. Not to say Palace at home won't be tough, but you're at home. Then after that, I think it's Brentford away. I think it's I've got someone else at home, I can't remember. We've got Slavia in the Champions League, Brighton at home in the Cup. So it's kind of like the next seven are all very winnable as well. But how do you see that playing out midfield-wise?
I think I'd like to see that same, the provided fitness, is a Erdegaard Rice as a starting thing. I think that's...
Wow. Okay.
But then, again, like...
Not a second pivot? You don't see a second pivot in there? If Fulham away Saturday night, like, fresh off a break...
You've always got horses for courses, don't you? Because
okay.
You could change it, but then again, like, are you just overcomplicating it? I do sort of lean towards, this is your starting team and this is the way we play, rather than trying to tinker based on what is the opposition's going to do. Even though against City a few weeks back, I was defending that option, but I just have so much. I think there's so much potential in that lineup. You mentioned Trossard. I thought he was quiet first half. Second half, they went down the left a little more, and I thought he played decent. I don't know whether. Again, it's hard to say. Like, I probably would have preferred to start Martinelli, but then again, he's been so good off the bench, and he can play. He can play left. He can play, striker as well. But yeah, I like that three. But again, you could put Zubimendi in there in place of Rice. You could put Zubimendi in place of Odegaard with Eze and
Yeah.
Rice as well.
I think
Yeah,
you're right in that the horses for courses make sense, and playing as Erdegaard and Rice will be done at times. I think where you might, I'm just sort of looking at it now, where you might see it against is like a team that's, like your Wolves at home. I don't know, later on, perhaps depending where teams are. Like, I mean, I think Aston Villa will end up climbing, but just those real sort of low. I think Brentford aren't looking great so far this year. Perhaps Brighton. I think that's where you might see that a little bit more. I think when it's a West Ham, a really well organised defensive team, and Everton under Moyes, you're probably going to play a few more in the middle. And what I think this is I think the conundrum he has, which is the beauty of having depth. But I just, after watching last night, I think he'll look at it and go, I can't drop Zubimendi. He's too good. And then he'll look at Declan Rice and go, when he's got that freedom, he's too good. And then the back four is amazing. David Raya is amazing. So I almost feel like you're going to have 7 which are just undroppable. And then you're going to have to work the rest around that. And that's what I think we might see moving forward is basically, okay, they're going to play definitely. And then after that, now I agree with you in terms of that more attacking lineup. I just think it's got to be, like you said, real horses for courses, which he hasn't had the horses to go around the Group 1s and pick where he wants to race. That's been the problem, but now he does. But I think that's what we'll see because, I mean, yeah, like you said before, Zubi as a man of the match is an extremely fair choice. He was fantastic. He was fabulous. And he was just so calm and comfortable on the ball. And he didn't look like he had to do a lot like he did in sort of other matches. So I think that's going to be his real selection conundrum there. So that's going to be tight, mate. Quickly, let's touch on that.
So that's without even mentioning Kai Havertz coming back, Madueke coming back. Nwaneri was off the bench. Like there's so many others that Jesus as well coming back that will slot in somewhere at some point overseas. And again, look, it's a long season. We saw 2 years ago now, just the fade out just couldn't stick with Man City after having a good lead sort of out of Christmas, out of New Year's. So
you're spot on. And then a year later, you're in a position where you have a massive run at the end, but you've just dropped too many points at the start. So you're spot on.
Yeah. So which is again why overnight's result 2-0. I'm not taking any criticism because it was just comfortable, safe. It was almost not as though like your mid-season, away at Stoke kind of the cliche, but that's the kind of thing you just bank those. And I think too often over the past ages, like decades, it's you dropped those kinds of games or dropped 2 points, and it's and then back into the season you can't make it up.
No, you've nailed it. I can't remember a time, like I was saying before, where we've had 6 points on the line like that, and we've basically, 6 points to make up, and we've gone and made them up in tricky games. It's not like it's like, all right, it's Tottenham at home in a derby, everyone's up for it. Chelsea away at the Bridge. All right, let's go there. And okay, good performance, got a point. We've made up, most of the points now. It was like, right, let's just get comfortable wins. I think I was definitely telling another bloke, a Liverpool guy I was talking to midweek. I said, whilst I'd love to see, outrageous performances and all this, I said I would happily take 2-0 wins this week. Olympiacos beaten us the last 3 times at the Emirates. West Ham beaten us the last 2 times at the Emirates. I'd take 2 times 2-0s. Comfortable wins, no dramas. I mean, last night was way more comfortable than Olympiacos. They were certainly a lot better in the second half and could have perhaps nicked the goal. But just to win is just the best feeling. There's nothing better than it. And then to see results go the way they did at Stamford Bridge was superb for us. It puts us in a look. Is it too early to say BB it's ours to lose now? Is it too early to say that after 7 games?
I think it is too early, and basically the only reason I'll say that is because 2 weeks ago, I was going, well, it's Liverpool's to lose, and they've lost 3 on the trot, including Champions League. So I think I think we're in pole position, and looking good. And I think Liverpool they've got some issues. Tottenham not far back. Chelsea look good. Like City's coming together. So a pole position. I'm not going to say it's ours to lose yet, but. You couldn't hope for much more.
You'd have to justify this favoritism, though, wouldn't you, BB?
Like, yes, absolutely.
We're we're into firm favoritism now. I think we're close to $2, which is 2-1 over there, and I think Liverpool are as far out now as a 7-2, right, on some bookies, which is 350.
Yeah.
So you're looking at. I think the favoritism is justified. I was telling a guy last night, in a way, I think I agree with you when you say it is too early, but if we beat Liverpool in the reverse fixture, that's 4 points on them. I mean, we don't lose to City. We maintain the gap 3 to them. Now, everyone's going to keep dropping points, us included. But my point there would be is that I know it's early, but it kind of is ours to lose in a way now. We've made up the gap we needed to. We've got a great next 4 run of fixtures before we come back from November break with, I think it's Tottenham at home, Bayern at home, Chelsea away. I mean, that's our toughest 3 games in a string. Then we've got another cruisy sort of December until we play, Liverpool at home early January. So the fixtures have been kind to us for once that, we've got an opportunity here to really, stamp that home.
Put it this way, I actually feel more comfortable now, 1 point ahead of Liverpool at this stage of the season, early October, than I did 2 seasons ago, 5 points ahead of Man City with only sort of a month, 6 weeks to go, kind of thing. I feel more comfortable this season, this time around, which speaks to the squad depth, which speaks to the guys they've got in and the playing style.
Yeah, you're spot on. I think what people aren't taking a lot of notice of at the moment. I think City are far better than what they were last year. I'm not sure they're Premier League champions better, and I'm also very concerned that they're a Haaland injury away from not being in a total quagmire, but I think they're in problematic territory if he goes down. I don't think Rodri's anywhere near back to his best, and that might take some time after an ACL. I think Doku and Foden have showed some signs. I thought Foden was unlucky not to be in the England squad coming up. But again, point being there is that they almost look like squad-wise City. It'll just take a couple of injuries and they could be in a bit of trouble. Whereas Ødegaard limps off for us. I mean, I think Declan Rice is a stiff back. I'm sure he'll be fine, with a bit of massage and a bit of cream and a bit of activation and stuff like that in England camp. Ødegaard, look, bone on bone. You know this from your sport days. Like bone on bone, that can be really painful. But provided there's no fracture or ligament, I can't see a ligament, and unless it's a PCL maybe, but I don't think so. He should be back in 2 weeks as well. So I guess even then, like you said, the impact of those injuries aren't as bad. Like, because you look at when Yeri come on, look fabulous. You're like, okay, great. Havertz shouldn't be too far away. Madueke shouldn't be too far away again. So the injuries don't have the impact that they used to either. So, I think this is where we've just got to really get through to January now and just open up a lead, 5 points, 6 points, 7 points, 10 points. Do what Liverpool did last year. They were just workmanlike. They just won. They got ahead. They held leads. They scored again. They won. That's what we have to do now. Let
me know your thoughts last night on Victor Gyökeres, because there's a lot of commentary around him. I have thoughts, but what's your takeaway? Last night, with the context of the season so far,
he was really good last week against Newcastle. I thought he worked really hard and did wonderful things. I thought he was good against Olympiacos, but that caveat there has to be that those teams were a little bit more open. I mean, Newcastle were more open at home. Olympiacos, definitely, you see that in the Champions League. In the Champions League, the AC Milan of the mid-2000s, the Ancelotti's Milan, are not around really anymore. You just don't see that wonderfully defensive lineup in the Champions League that can win 1-0 at home, take the second leg 0-0 away. So what I mean by that is that teams are always coming out, which means that Victor has more space to run into. He can go and harry more. I thought he was less effective last night in a low block because there wasn't as many to go and chase. There wasn't as much, passing at the back to go and press. And then at the same time, he wasn't really getting any service either. So I guess looking at it, he had a worse performance last night. I brought him into my fantasy thinking he's going to get a bag. And I said to my son, I go, he's going to be the guy that I think he will turn up and score some big goals for us. And he might end up being that guy who just gets a bag every 5 weeks. He might just get a hat trick versus Brighton at home. Great. They're the games that we've dropped points in the past and we've lost and so on and so forth. And I think that'd be good for us. But I've got this funny feeling now that, mate, come November when Havertz is fit, you might see a little bit more of Havertz actually starting to just create that better link-up play. That guy who can come and get it a little bit better and then open up your Martinellis, your Trossards, your Sakas, your Maduekes, your Ødegaards, your Ezes to just, bear down on goal. That's what we haven't seen a lot of this year is kind of, that sort of how we've had those brilliant balls. It's been a little bit more Timber or a little bit more Calafiori, not as much to an extent there. They've been the guys overlapping as opposed to the forward opening them up. So that's what I think, man. I think, look, disappointing goal return so far. He's worked his socks off. He's got improvements to make, but look, at the end of the day, no one's going to talk too much about it while we're winning. So that's kind of what I think. Bit of a long answer, but I would have loved to score a couple last night, mate. What do you think?
Yeah, I think he deserved a goal, at least one goal last night. And I read Arteta say Arteta went up to him at full time and like gave him a hug and said something like, "Look, it'll come, but the work you did today was fantastic,
Yeah.
in stretching that defense." And sorry again, I've got an example of it. It's in the 44th minute, and it's actually on the back of like a 2 minute period of possession for Arsenal where, again, playing out from the back, West Ham really disciplined, not giving anything. So you go up into the half. Eze gets a ball, Calafiori gets a touch, Rice gets a touch. There's not much doing. There's no way through. Ball comes all the way back. Ball comes all the way back to David Raya and all the way back to Saliba on the 12-yard line, basically, or 12-yard penalty area to drag West Ham out. And then Saliba comes out to Timber, who has like acres of space in front of him to run into, and he runs into it. And I might see if I can put a little screenshot of exactly what I'm talking about, because Gyökeres makes this run, and if it was Ødegaard with the ball, he probably makes the pass. There's probably only a couple of blokes that can make the pass. Timber, great player, probably can't make this 40-yard pass I'm talking about, but Gyökeres makes the run. Could have got the ball if it was a world-class playmaker, but he's just stretching that West Ham defence, because the strikers have come up to press all the way to our penalty box. Gyökeres is stretching him the other way, which creates the space, and you got Eze and Rice right in that gap, which is where Timber eventually goes. Now Rice gets the ball and gets dispossessed. This is what I was sort of mentioning before. If it was Eze, maybe Ødegaard, they can take a touch and figure it out. The play breaks down, but the nucleus is there, the basis is there, I think, for what. Yeah, it just needs to start clicking, and it will. I think it will, and that's what Gyökeres, and I think that's what Arteta was talking about. Just his presence, his runs to create space for other guys, which I think like in this day and age. Look, I brought him into my fantasy side, so hoping he'd score a couple. And I think a lot of the criticism comes down to this, and this is a big thing for me. People these days, I feel, maybe this is me being an old man yelling at clouds, but there's a lot of people that will criticize, like a 007, because people aren't watching full games anymore. Not the goal. Look, the goals will come. It'll start clicking. That's what I'm trying to say. The Gyökeres thing. Look, give him time. The goals will come. That's all I'm trying to say. But
good call, mate. I think it will. I just think it's a case of, it's not about impatience or anything like that. It's just about making sure you've got a striker, who can score that big goal when the time comes. That's all. Who can score that big goal when we really, really, really need it. Whether it's a second goal away to Man City to wrap up a game, whether it's a, 1-1 with 5 to go at home versus a stubborn Brentford. Wonderful. Sunderland have come and given us a go today. We need to make sure that we're on the job. That's the type of thing I'm concerned about. But look, it is early. We're winning. That's the main thing. Let's just carry on the way we are, basically, which is fabulous.
Absolutely, and we're running out of time, but I'll let you mention Chelsea getting up over Liverpool at Stamford Bridge. Looked like a fucking amazing day over there. It's 96th-minute winner from Esteval. How good?
Yeah, look, it was a fabulous game, mate. I think we'd be remiss not to talk about what's going on there at the moment, because at the end of the day, their poor form this week, they're sort of, 3 bad results in 7 days have really opened the door for us. Couple of things. I don't like the way Slott's sort of come out. He's been very critical of his team. He's been very critical of he made comments last night after the game about we lost in extra time. No, you didn't, you gibber. There was 7 minutes of extra time at Palace, and they scored almost right on that 7 minute, of that game. And to be fair to them, I mean, this is not a PGML bashing or anything like that, but they do seem to get lots of extra time when the opportunity's there for them to win the game. We saw 7 minutes last night in the Chelsea game, which I was going, where has this come from in the second half? Like, this is outrageous. And in the end, that's what cost them again. in reverse, in that they copped a late goal and lost for the second time in a week in the 5th minute of added time. I mean, that must be hard to take. I know we've had plenty of losses like that in sort of late and in injury time, but I tell you what, for them, I don't remember 2 losses that late, week after week, where you've sort of been done in the 95th, 96th minute twice. So some of his criticisms have been weird. I thought his selection last night, no Wirtz last night again. I thought Ekitike on the bench again was weird. Like, he's been your best player, and the fact that Isak started over him, because the only reason I took Isak out of fantasy was I thought, well, I don't think he's going to play by all accounts after limping off in Turkey. And then in the end, it's turned around that he's ended up, being there but being on the bench. Isak was better last night. He'll go down as having the assist for the goal, but I think he was just trying to, control the touch for himself to go on and have a shot. In the end, it fell perfectly for Gakpo, who's gone in and banged it in. So in looking at them like that, that's the part that I just can't work out. Their balance is just all over the place. You saw Bradley starting over Frimpong. I mean, you bought this very expensive, excellent right back from the Bundesliga, and now he's sort of only playing half the games. Kirk only played 60 minutes. I thought Robbo was way better when he came on. So why not start with Robbo? The whole Szoboszlai argument now, is he a right back? Is he a centre midfielder? Where's he playing? McAllister's been way off. I don't know if he's just tired. I feel like Alexis has been wonderful for years. A wonderful, World Cup run, where he basically played every game of Argentina's World Cup. He's the mainstay of that team, a bit like Enzo for Chelsea. So it was just sort of some very strange situations there. A few of our mates have been on the text this morning that we know, Fids and a few of the guys they would know better, the formation type of things and that sort of stuff that we don't quite understand. But at the same time, he made some changes, BB, where he takes off Kanate for Curtis Jones. It's a sign that he wants to go for it, but why take off your centre half? Like, that's the bit I couldn't understand. Like, fresh legs perhaps, but it left them wide open. And we saw in the last 10 minutes when Chelsea felt like they could go for it, they just kept bombing down through that middle and then looking to go left for what was Garnacho for a long while. And then they had Jamie Gittins came on and played really well. I thought Jarrell Hatto, even he's been linked with a move away already, which is BAU for Chelsea these days when you've got a squad of 78. But, Hatto came on and played really well at centre-half. They lost 2 or 3 centre-backs in the game, Chelsea. So Maresca will be stoked. He did a Mourinho touchline run to when they won the game. And I thought they deserved it. It was fabulous. Yeah. I thought they deserved it, mate, to be honest. And I thought, I said, I've got it on record here, and the few boys in the chat, a few Liverpool boys going, because they were sort of saying, like a few other guys were saying, a couple of Man U boys and other guys going, mate, you should beat Chelsea and this and that. I said, listen, that's a tough ground for them. I know for a fact they haven't won there for at least 4 or 5 years. And before Mane scored in a double there in the title-winning year, I think 5 years ago, 2-0, they didn't win there either, and for a while. And then basically we've seen last night the same thing where they get that equaliser. They take the foot off the brake for about 15 minutes after that, where you're like, are they just waiting now to go hard in the last 10? Or what are they doing? And then Chelsea sniffed the chance, going, hang on, we can still beat these guys. Like, take it easy, and let's go for it. I mean, Salah was very poor last night. I think even the most ardent Liverpool fans, will be happy to say that since he signed his new deal, he's been horrible. So they got massive questions to ask there about what that means. Gakpo seems to have lost a bit of form, and I think that's just down to team uncertainty, rotation. Wirtz was better when he came off the bench, but still not brilliant by any stretch. So they've got some questions to answer. They come back against Man U next up, right? Yes, it is at Anfield, but Man United were way better last night by all accounts. Again, I only watched the shorts of it, but by all accounts, they were way better versus Sunderland. The keeper was far more solid. So what happens there, mate? The Man U go and nick a result or nick something, nick a draw there. Then they've got City. Then they've got, I think, Villa. They've got some tough games ahead. And Champions League, you lose an early game. So anyway, that's a bit of a long one there on Liverpool, mate. But I think it's worth saying at the moment that, for us, if we can come back and beat Fulham, beat Palace, put some pressure on them, we might be further clear as well. So happy days.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, like you say, they come back United, have their tails up after that win overnight. Come back, maybe they can steal a couple of points or even a win. Tottenham's only, I think, a point back or 2 points back of us and a point back of Liverpool. So there's going to be pressure coming from a lot of those other sides. Palace playing good. Chelsea look like they can do a few things as well. I thought Garnacho was really good last night.
So did I. Yeah.
For me, it feels like a lot of those Liverpool guys are just tired, running on tired legs. It was a big campaign, not just last year, but the seasons before it, and a lot of emotion as well over the off season with Diogo Jota. Just squad uncertainty, Isak coming in, Ekitike coming in at different times, and all the uncertainty around that. But the overwhelming thing I think when I look at Liverpool is these blokes are tired.
Yeah,
There's a bunch of worn out blokes physically and mentally, and I think more than anyone it's coming out in Mo Salah because he's off. He's off at the
yeah,
moment.
yeah.
He needs a refresh or something. I'm not sure what it is.
Mate,
Um,
and BB, he goes away to AFCON. I mean, I don't know if he's going to be at the
mm,
Arab Cup later this year. So the FIFA Arab Cup's on 1 to 17 December, which is just sort of it's almost like a quadrennial tournament, Middle East. It's like, there's no confederation for the Middle East as such. So getting them all together. And that's a big one for FIFA. It's been around for a while. Don't think he plays in that, but he plays in AFCON. That's going to go away to that and have to play in that, wherever that ends up. So that'll be tough for him. And then you're right. And one thing I don't think enough has been said about, I don't know why anyone hasn't said about this, but there's not been enough said about Trent leaving and his range of passing, the ability to just find balls and like Fidel said, like find Salah, find players. There's been not enough said about Luis Diaz. I mean, just a direct, hard-running left winger who would go directly at goal. They don't have that in Gakpo as much. He's good when he cuts inside. He's a bit Sakarish, Gakpo, cuts inside on the right foot, but doesn't have that hard-running byline the way Diaz had. And tragically, of course, I mean, very different set of circumstances, Diogo Jota, but just a player, direct, wonderful finisher up top. Not enough's been said about that for Liverpool. Best transfer window ever is what we heard in the summer, but there's not been enough said about what they've lost. And I think that's really starting to come to roost now. The new guys haven't integrated well. Wirtz hasn't been great. Isak was better last night, but not amazing. And then for their other signings, I think they missed out at centre half, where I think Konate's been unfairly targeted, but that's just an easy media beat up now for them to say, well, you didn't upgrade where you needed to, and that's where you're struggling at the moment. So I think that's where that's hurting them at the moment. But look, you made some great points, mate. There is an argument that in 4 weeks' time, after November break, they could be in 5th or 6th or 7th and well behind a Tottenham and a Man City and Arsenal, perhaps, depending what happens if Palace keep their run going. It's going to be a fascinating time.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Look, we will wrap it up there. We're heading into its NRL grand final day here in Sydney. So we'll move on to that. I know you're going to watch the football later tonight as well. Formula One overnight too. So it's a good and great weekend, and even better to be top of the table heading into an international break, mate. How good! First time in 18 months we've been top of the table. How good is it?
It is.
Mate,
it's fabulous, mate. Been a long time. We weren't top at all last year, so good times.
Yeah. We will be back, I reckon, next Monday morning. Arsenal not playing, but we'll be back with another episode. And then it'll be Arsenal Fulham the following week. I think that's a Sunday morning, 3:30 in the morning, I think.
Correct, so mate. Saturday night into Sunday, 3:30, and then Liverpool Man U on the Sunday, I think. So we got a chance to go four clear at the top and really put some pressure on them.
Beautiful. Steve, enjoy your week, mate, and I will speak to you next week.
Love it, mate. Great chat today. Talk soon, mate.